Hey everyone, this is Aruna, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, SNS College of Technology. In my lecture series today, we're going to see about detailing about the ER diagram. And also in the ER diagram, we're going to discuss about what is an entity, what is an entity type, attributes, relationship types, and their notation. In my upcoming video, we're going to take one case study, how we can draw an ER diagram. We have to see it in my upcoming case study video. So today, before entering into the thing, first we're going to see about an entity. So entity is nothing but some physical existence or an object or a thing or a real world object that can be called as an entity. And also practically, by example, a person is an entity, car is an entity, house is an entity, employee is an entity. Either it can be a living things or a non-living things. Everything. One thing is all physical existence means visualization and non-visual. So for example, as a person is a can't able to visible, it may be a generic one. And also if we are saying a car is a visible thing. That is a house is a visible thing. So this both can be an entity of any database. And also second thing is conceptual existence. That is a conceptual existence means company, job, university courses. It is existence, but we can't able to see the thing. So that can be called it as a conceptual existence. So this particular entity, we're going to draw it as a rectangle box. This can be called it as an entity. The next thing is an entity set. Entity set is contain the set of attributes. It can be represented like this oval shape. So in an entity, it will have so many steps. For example, database management system. So student is an entity. Entity set we're going to represent it as a class can contain. Student is an entity. And also a student in a class, we are having a 65 students. So that can be called it as an entity set. This can be represented like this in our ER diagram. Second thing is entity type. So initially I said that what do you mean by entity type? It can be classified into two types. One is a strong entity, another one is a weak entity. It is nothing but a one type of an entity. It will have a key attribute. And also this does not depend on other entity in the schema. That can be called it as a strong entity set. It will have a primary key. We can able to uniquely identify the thing. Then only we can call it as a strong entity. So it can be represented simply by a rectangle. The next one is a weak entity. It will also can have a key attribute. It also can have a uniquely identify the data sets, but here key attribute cannot be defined. In this case only we can able to say it is a weak entity. Let us see an example over here. Here I have to establish a connection between the customer and loan. Customer is my one entity, loan is my another entity. Because all the customer cannot, is it possible to borrow a loan? Whenever the customer needed only, they can borrow the loan. All the customer in the bank doesn't go for a loan. Is it right? So only I can say loan is my weak entity. Because if all the customer can borrow a loan means this is a strong entity. Nowadays, a person, definitely in real world, all the person doesn't borrow a loan from a bank. Is it right? So only we can say this is a weak entity. This can be represented as a attribute for this particular entity. So in this scenario, this one is a strong entity. This one is a weak entity. Here it will have a relationship. This both the thing is a weak. Is it right? So a strong entity can relationship with the weak entity. So I have to mention in the double-sided rectangle, and as well as a relationship also mark it as a double diamond. The next thing is an attribute. Attribute is nothing but the properties associated for an entity or describing the entity. We are going for an attributes. Normally our attributes we going to draw it in a oval shape. So attribute, we are having a 4 different types of an attribute. Key attribute. Key attribute is a uniquely identified attribute. In upcoming thing and all, we are saying it is a primary key. So that can be denoted like this. You are having an oval shape. Inside, we are having an attribute name. It must be underlined. Underlined represent the primary key or uniquely identify the entity set. For example, student database, by using a roll number, I can able to uniquely identify each and every student in the class. So only I am saying it is a primary key. In the ER diagram, we're going to represent like this. Second thing is a composite attribute. Composite attribute means it is composite of many attributes. Address is a composite attribute. Why I have to say this consists of street, city, state, and country. So only we can represent our composite attribute like this in our ER diagram. The next thing is a multi-valued attribute. Phone, a person can have more than one phone number. So it will attribute can have a more than one value. Similarly, in our programming language, if I have to store more number of value of the same data type, I can go for an array. Is it right? Similar way in our ER diagram, in our backend, if a variable, if an attribute can have more than one value, I can go for a multi-valued attribute that can be represented in double oval. And also derived attribute, one attribute is derived from the another attribute. For example, age, I'm saying age is a derived attribute. Why I'm saying age is a derived attribute? Age can be calculated from the date of birth. So that can be represented as a link. I need not to get a data for getting an age, for calculating the age. If I have a database, I can able to calculate the age. So that's why I'm mentioning it is in a Eclipse set. So the next thing is in the attribute, a complete entity type, how we can represent this thing means I have represent the student is my entity. These are my attributes. I'm going to join together like this. The next thing is a relationship type. So this relationship type, we're going to see it in my next video. So this is a entity and attributes, how we can represent the thing. Thank you for watching my video. The next video, we're going to discuss about the relationship and types and cardinality, everything and all. Thank you for watching my video.